In this video, I'm going to break down my profits on GBPUSD this week. I have a free Forex trading course that you can sign up to right now. It's a mini 13 video series which shows you why you're not winning and how you can turn your results around. I've also got a 20% sale on my academy, approaching the run up to 20,000 YouTube subscribers. So if you want to get access to that, there's more information in the description for both of these things. So head over there when you finish this video. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down GBPUSD. I've taken some nice trades on this since last night and I want to break those down with you now. Show you the 2 wins and 1 loss that I've taken. So you can actually see them here on the chart. Yesterday I had a 4R win, then I had a 2.1R win. Now today I've had a 1R loss, and this was just into the Open of London session. Price just pushed straight through and tagged me out. So what I'm going to do in this video is break down each one of these positions individually, and I'll show you why I got in them, why I was running them, how I profited on these two, how I found them, and how I actually took the loss on this one, and what this setup was really about. So trade number 1, this was the 4R winner. You can see here I posted it up in my Discord group yesterday. I think we could buy GU from 1.18920 to take towards the short entry, following the 5-minute tap into demand and breaker structure on the lower time frames. So as you can see, I said to take towards the short entry. That would be the short entry that I lost on this morning. I'll break that down in a little bit. But for now, this is the trade that I sent out. You can see here we had a buy limit just on this level. Wanted to see price come in, tap that, and then run. So there's the entry, 1.18920. There's the stop, 1.18820. So let's go and break this down on the charts now. Now, as you can see here, we are looking at the hourly time frame initially. This was just prior to the buys and the sell that I've taken. Now you can see the overall picture for GU was that we'd broken down into major lows. Now you can see here, even on the hourly, we pushed through this low and that pushed us into lows that we haven't seen for quite some time. So the idea was to just continue selling GBPUSD down, and having seen this lower low and then this lower high and then this lower low form, I was liking this area here for my short entry. So basically I wanted to see price come and push towards this zone to then sell off, and that is where the basis of this buy trade came from. We can then start to scout out the actual price action. The 5-minute is a good place to do this. What we'd seen was price come up, tap this supply here, just about missed this supply on the 5-minute, but we came and traded into this range. But above this range, I saw further imbalance. And if we zoom in a little bit, I'll start to break down the chart. First of all, we had that breaker structure there. There's obviously the larger break over here as well. From that, we have a supply zone just here. But this looks to me kind of like a seller inducement. I'm kind of looking for the final imbalance point. And as we can see, if we start from the top, this is efficient here, this is efficient here. Then we have this inefficiency left open to this supply zone here. So this was the supply zone I was interested in selling from. And I had a strong feeling that price would go all the way through this zone, all the way through this zone, and trade into this point before flipping. Why? Because there's imbalance there, there's imbalance here. This is the final efficient area. So this is where I wanted to see price trade towards. I wasn't too keen on this. I didn't think this was a very strong push. So basically what I decided to do was mark up this demand here. And then I wanted to see if we tap into this zone and start to form a bullish reversal, could we actually find a trade up towards the highs? So to take it from here, through these areas, and towards this one just here. So something like this is exactly what I wanted to see. Okay, now I wouldn't buy limit straight into this because really this is still kind of downtrending, right? Especially with the high time frame picture being bearish as well. So what I wanted to see in order to take any movements on this was for price to confirm after trading into this 5-minute demand. So if we let the 5-minute roll out a little bit, you'll see we did tap in. I didn't take an execution here, but what we then saw was this candle here, these 2 candles, which actually broke the substructure. So if we go down to the 1-minute time frame now, you'll see that we had our demand zone reaction. We can refine this down now to the 1-minute as well. We had the demand zone reaction, and then what we have in this lower trend, we had, well, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then we broke up, pushed over this structure and kind of formed a higher high in this very low time frame 1-minute trend. So that was the breaker structure, and from here it was confirmed to me that we could move up towards these previous zones that we wanted to see targeted. So what I actually ended up doing was plotting out this demand here, grabbing a buy limit, dropping that on there. You'll see the levels were 220, I believe, and the stop loss was 820. So 920 and 820 were the levels. Now I actually ended up executing a little bit higher around this point. So we had just over 10 pips on the stop. And then the target was towards this level for the final target. So it was a 7R position. Now, when I took the trade, it ended up being about 4R. I took it early, and I'll show you that in a moment. But now we can just let this trade roll, and you'll see how it tapped in and how it performed. So you'll see initially we had a push up, we had a pullback down. This just retested this kind of support floor. So this is kind of support resistance type thing. This would induce a lot of buyers from support here. And then as we see, price pushed down, traded into the real area, which was the demand zone, and then started its push away. So we got the prime entry really. I mean, it pushed a little bit down towards the midpoint of the zone, but targeting the zone was the best thing we could have done. And it did secure us a very nice entry. Now from there, the market started to push away, and as mentioned, I did actually close it early. I ended up closing when we were at around this supply point here, simply because of the timing, right? So if we were to mark this out, let's pull the target down. It was around 4R that I ended up taking on the trade. Price approached that, tapped in quite nice. Then we did start to stall. So I decided to get out. I took 4R on the trade, and we can see here this is 6:30 on the night in the UK, right? Normally, I'm trying to get out of trades around 5, 6 p.m. Unless it's something I want to hold through the night. Now, I held my short order through the night. I had quite strong conviction on that. Most of the time, if I'm running a trade and it's in nice profits, towards this time, at the end of New York session, we start to run into low volume, which can mean trades reverse on us, trades consolidate. So I did actually end up getting out of this position. Now, this is where trade number 2 came in, because I saw quite a clear opportunity here. Basically, what I'd seen here was this little demand zone. Okay, we'd seen this push up, we'd seen this start to pull back. We saw this very clear demand zone. Once again, we like to work with the last inefficient area. If we look at this zone, we can see the one tapping into this. This is efficient, right? Demand retest efficient, demand retest efficient, demand retest efficient, demand retest efficient, demand retest efficient. You get the point, right? So this is the final imbalance point, and if we mark it out like this, you can see it's quite a clear point for me to actually get a rebuy from. So I ended up putting another trade on this, and it was just a buy from this point. I only ended up taking 2.1R on this because I did decide I shouldn't be in the markets at this time. I wanted to relax and enjoy my evening. So I actually ended up taking the trade, I believe, if we just let it roll a minute, around this supply point here. So I got into my position. I took it towards this supply zone here. Then when price started to stall, because I think it did sell all the way back off again down to this level, I just took that. I was like, right, you know what? There's conflict on this. If we do look at this, we have traded into this 5-minute supply now. I'm happy to try and buy this up. But if we do start to see conflict based on timing and all of the above, I will just get out of the position. And that is exactly what I did. So you'll see we tapped in. Very quick, nice reaction away. Traded into this point. I stayed in it for this bit. And then when we pulled back up, I thought, you know what? I'm going to get out of this now. So I decided to hop out of the trade. It pushed a little bit further, I think, and then it started to sell back to the downside. So this was a nice little trade all in all, and actually finished my evening with 6.1R profit across the two. But I think it's probably around 6.15 or something. This was just over 4R, and this was 2.1R that I ended up actually locking in on these two trades. So this was yesterday's positions, nice and clear, straightforward, simple trades, following the order flow from where we are down here, just to pull us back up towards the supply zone here. Now, had I held my trades overnight, they would have been largely profitable. I think this one probably would have tagged me out at break even because it did come back to entry. But this one could have been a 7R trade. So really, had I left them overnight, I would have got 7R, break even plus 7R. I ended up closing them, didn't have the stress, didn't have it on my mind, and I still closed 6R. So I'm not too mad about that whatsoever. So just a quick recap on those. Here's the position running. Closed it around this point, as you can see. Got out the first trade for 4R. Got back in for another 2 on this scaling. Does anyone see this or take this? So there's the second position as well. So you can see that I did actually execute both of these trades. Now we're going to break down the loss, which was what I took today. And that was this GBPUSD short order. So you can see here I entered from a 1-minute supply. It was a larger 5-minute supply. Stop was just above the 5-minute supply. Following that same rule, see, all efficient here. So we wanted to just use the inefficient areas. We have final imbalance there. We look to trade price all the way through into this point and then sell it off. So as we can see as well, I did mention we might go considerably further if we do get tapped in. And that is what I was aiming for. But as we can see in a moment, that didn't happen and price has continued pushing to the upside. All right, so now breaking down trade number 3 or trade number 1. This was the first one I prepped. We're going to have a look at the GBPUSD short that led to a 1R loss this morning. So this was obviously already broken down. I've pretty much spoken about it. We had this large time frame break of structure here. Obviously, this is broken into new multi-week, multi-month lows as well. So basically what I was looking for is an inducement of the sellers over these levels, pull us in, maybe trade towards this supply, induce sellers in, and then push up, trade into this supply and then sell off. So that's the kind of move I was looking for, and I did leave my order on overnight because I thought this looked like quite a nice high probability trade. If we have a look at how price action reacted, we can see we consolidated around all the way through the night. Asia session, especially for pound euro focused pairs, is going to be very flat. And then after Asia's session, we pushed up. We formed this kind of weird confirmation entry. So you can see here, I didn't get into this because I didn't quite trade into my zone yet. And then we had this spike through, and that is what took me out. You can see that we just had this very fast spike straight through, right? We didn't have any hanging around. We didn't have any, teasing around the entry or stop loss. We literally just bombed straight through in 1 single minute or, a couple of minutes of price action. We just shot straight from the trigger to the stop loss. So it was a fast exit on the trade. And what that actually did was then break the high as well. So this has opened doors to new opportunity. I still stay heavily bearish on GBPUSD. Same with Euro USD and things like that. But the DXY has been going nuts this week. So we might see a bit of relief. We might see this thing push a little bit higher. But that is why I took the loss overall. So if I was to rate these setups, I would say setup number 1, perfect, flawless trade. We had confirmation, order flow in our favor. We identified liquidity very well. That was a very clean, very easy, simple trade. Trade number 2, once again, a very, very good trade. Only problem with that is I probably shouldn't have entered it at the timing that I did, or I should have accepted the potential of a break even and let it run if I was to follow things as perfectly as possible. Now, I actually ended up making a better move on it by taking it because I would have been break even and I ended up getting 2.1 R on it. But in terms of systematic following, probably I should have left that. So if I was to rate that, I'd be honest with myself there. Maybe not as top tier as the first trade. Trade number 3, this is also a top tier trade. I have no, regrets, sadness, anything like that. This is a brilliant trade. I would take this again multiple times over. It fits my criteria very well. I've seen many, many trades like this win a lot. So I would continue to take this. Even though this one was a loss, that doesn't make it a bad trade to me. That makes it a good system trade that didn't work out in this instance. So tallying things up, with our profit from here up to here, we had 4R. With our profit from this point up to this point, we had another 2R. That's 6R in total, or 6.15. And then here we had minus 1R from this push to this push here. So all in all, we're coming out the week with around 5.15R on GBPUSD, which was really within 2 hours of work down here. And this one obviously just passively lost in the morning as well. But I'm happy with that. Very nice profit for the week. Now, one kind of thing I wanted to finish on was the statement that you don't have to have a good week from the start, right? Some people start off having a bad week. You might take a loss. You might take 2 losses. You might not even find any trades for a few days. And you start thinking this week is doomed. This is just not my week. Remember, it only takes one good trade to turn around a bad week. Whether that's a flat week or a losing week, if you can nail one good systematic trade, your week is turned around, right? Let's say you've taken 3 losses prior to Wednesday this week. And then you managed to catch these 2 positions as I did. You've lost minus 3R. You've then caught plus 6.1R, and then you've lost another 1R. You're still up around 2.1R, okay? Even though you've only took this kind of 1 win in 2 instances versus the 4 losses that you would have taken. So just remember that if you are trading and having a bad week ever, or you are having a flat week, you're bored, you can't find any trades, you're not seeing anything that sparks your interest. Remember, it only takes one good trade to fill your week up and make it profitable. So don't force things, don't go crazy. Don't feel like you're doomed if you have a couple of losses in a row. Just wait on those big trades and then execute them when the time is right. So for me, this is pretty much all I've taken this week. I haven't really done anything else. Pretty good with it though. I'm happy with that. I don't need to trade again for the rest of the week. I will have a look today and tomorrow, but I'm not too interested in firing off into positions when I don't need to. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you some insight into kind of how I trade, how I found these intraday positions, how I manage my wins and my losses to maximize profits. And hopefully overall, I've just been able to provide you with some immense value for your own work. So if you want to go and break these down on the charts, go for it. You can try and pick my brain and see why I go for these moves, how I spot the liquidity, how I spot the inducements, things like that. I hope you've had a brilliant week trading. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.